What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to Blazers Uprise Live. Today we are going to make our all-star picks. Then we're going to do 3 games of picks against the spread. That is what we have on tap. The all-star starters are announced very shortly, so we are going to make our all-star picks first. Then we're going to do picks against the spread. So things are going to be a little bit out of order compared to what you guys are normally used to, but this should be fun. As far as all-star picks, me, Eric, Reese, and Westbrook made ours. Trevin was a little too scared. He said he, wasn't watching enough, didn't want to expose himself and his, he didn't want to expose his NBA knowledge. So we got 4 of our picks, and I'm just gonna jump into them because I don't know when do they announce the starters? Like 4:15.
Yeah, sometime in the show that's starting right in a few minutes. So yeah, should be while we're on the air, and we can talk about that.
Yeah, if you're watching this back after the fact, you could maybe compare the starters to our starters. But honestly, I feel like the East and West starters, other than Damian Lillard versus Steph Curry versus Luka Doncic, the starters in the East and West, I feel like I know. Like I know what they're going to be. I have a different pick in the East. That I'll tease right now. That might surprise some people, but other than that, like I feel like we already know what's going to be said in that announcement. So this is honestly mostly interesting for the reserves, and then my surprise starter pick and all that. So let's jump. How do you have a thumb? Connor says, "How do you have a thumbnail if the stream hasn't started yet?" I don't know what that question means. But let's jump into our all-star picks. Let's just get it underway. I'm going to reveal these one by one, so you're going to see a black screen. I'm just going to reveal them slowly. These are our West picks. So what I did with these is I put, for the reserves, I put basically whoever had the most picks near the top of our list, and whoever was like say all 4 of us picked, I don't know, Ben Simmons, he'd be near the top of the list. Say one of us picked, I don't know, Russell Westbrook, he'd be at the bottom of the list, So I try to put it in order of like how, out of us 4, how often players were picked. So, what are you laughing at?
People are making fun of your black screen graphic.
Well, we're just going to reveal them slowly. So my picks, it's not the fanciest, but, I mean, just throw it together last minute. My picks, and I'm just going to say this now, all of our starters are the same. It's Dame, Steph, LeBron, Kawhi, Jokic as the starters.
And for the record, this is who we would pick as our all-star teams.
This would be our ballot.
Think will be all-stars.
Mm-hmm. This would be our ballot, because I think Luka will probably end up getting over Dame due to the fan vote, but I would vote Dame. But then bench, you got Luka, obviously. Donovan Mitchell, you got to put him in there. Paul George, Zion Williamson, Rudy Gobert, Devin Booker. And my last pick is an AD injury replacement, right? So, like, AD is very likely injured for the All-Star game, so won't be playing. So I got SGA as my AD injury replacement. The last player on each of our lists is the injury replacement for AD, essentially. Just wanted to preface that. Eric, we had a lot of the same picks. Do you want to touch on any of yours, especially the last one? Because the last one is Christian Wood. It was a little different than mine.
Yeah, I had AD, like you said. I felt like he was... he hasn't had the greatest year, but I also felt like he was deserving. But... this was a tough one between Christian Wood and DeMar DeRozan for me. Gilgeous-Alexander has had a very good season, but I just think Wood had solid stats, and I didn't put him originally on my team because he obviously has missed some games, especially recently as well. I just think Christian Wood's been really good for them, and they've really struggled since he went down.
Yep. Basically, that last pick is the only difference between me and Eric. Mm-hmm. It's also the only...
One thing is, so Hans was saying Chris Paul should have made it over Devin Booker.
No.
Booker's been really good since he came back from injury as well, and they struggled a little bit without him. plus Chris Paul had not had the greatest stats and like overall his impact, his experience and leadership and stuff. That kind of stuff has helped Phoenix, but it's not like he was playing at an all-star level, at least not earlier in the season, even though the team was having success.
Yep, agreed. Chris Paul's averaging 17 and 8. Devin Booker's averaging 24 and 5, 24 and 4.5. So I'll take Devin Booker in that one. Definitely have to put a Phoenix Sun in there. Definitely have to put one of them. Westbrook, we got the same picks, right? And this is the case for Reese too. The top 11 I feel like is clear cut.
Yeah.
Because 12 spots, the top 11 I feel like is pretty clear cut. It was pretty clear cut for all of us, and we talked. I talked amongst Westbrook and Reese a little bit with my picks, but I told him, if make your own picks. Don't make any picks because of me. So this is what Westbrook came up with. He just happens to agree with me. SGA as his final guy in there, and then Reese has Mike Conley as his final guy, which I think is interesting. You got 3 Jazz All-Stars in there for Reese. Mike Conley has just, Reese loves his advanced stats. I said, pick who you would pick if you were making a ballot. So, Reese values defense for the All-Star game probably a little bit more than me. We'll see that in his Eastern Conference picks. We talked about his picks a little bit, so I have some of his logic for them that I can relate to you guys. But Mike Conley has advanced stats, paint a terrific picture for him. Really good defensively. He's only playing 29 minutes a game, but in those 29 minutes, he's very productive. So that is who he went for his 12th pick. What do you think about Conley versus like SGA versus Christian? I know you got Christian Wood, but what do you think about it?
Conley's definitely played well, and he's one of the reasons the difference between him last year and this year is one of the reasons why Utah is a lot better team than they were last year. But I don't know if I could put 3 Jazz over some of these other guys who are their records might not be great, but like OKC and DeMar DeRozan with the Spurs, they've been better than people thought they would, and it's primarily because of their main guys producing. So it's hard for me to put Conley over someone like SGA or DeMar DeRozan because of being a third option on a team versus a first option that's kind of having to carry the workload.
Don't look at that spreadsheet that just popped up, by the way. I thought I had snubs on this on the spreadsheet, but I do not. DeMar DeRozan is definitely a snub. The Spurs are playing really well. He just wasn't good enough statistically for me.
So a lot of people in chat are saying, where's CJ?
Only played 13 games. That's not enough to get him in.
Yeah,
sadly.
You can't. Maybe if this was a normal year and it was a little, CJ had, the extra 2 months of games before he got hurt. It's possible, but I just don't see a way when you miss that many games unless you're like a LeBron James, who is obviously an all-star, whether he's hurt or not. And it's really, really too bad because CJ, I feel like, was having a better year than Conley or SGA or DeMar DeRozan, so he would have definitely been in the running to make it.
He would have. I'll say this: he would have made it if he continued playing like that, and our record was 18-10.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just unfortunate that he got hurt. It's not a slight on him that he's not on our list. It's just
literally just due to injury.
Yeah.
So that is.
RIP Blazers mentions, and several other people did, De'Aaron Fox as well.
I considered him.
Yeah, the Kings have been up and down. I just didn't. I just couldn't leave anyone else above him off my list. But yeah, he was definitely in the running.
Yeah, for me it was like because I actually had this debate between SGA and De'Aaron Fox, and the fact that OKC's only a game and a half behind Sacramento, I think actually works in SGA's favor instead of De'Aaron Fox's. Because look at who SGA is playing with, man. Lou Dort having a fine season, right? You got Al Horford has been in there, in and out of the lineup. George Hill has been out of the lineup a lot. Darius Baisley, Hamidou Diallo, Mike Muscat. Like, that roster, garbage. But SGA has been able to lead them to some wins, and they have more losses than wins. They're 11-17, but in a lot of the losses, they've still been competitive, right? And SGA has been, I think, a little bit more efficient. So it was tough actually because I did debate putting De'Aaron Fox in there. De'Aaron Fox is having a really good season, but I still went with SGA instead.
And one other name I'm seeing is Brandon Ingram. He's someone that
that team is underachieving.
I couldn't put two Pelicans on there with how with being below 500, and I couldn't put him above like putting a Sun on there. But yeah, I just felt Zion's having a better season than him, so I put Zion over him. That was my logic there.
Yeah, and that was mine too. Zion balling. I mean, we saw it last night. Zion's been balling. Zion's been phenomenal. So that is our West picks. Let's move on to our East picks. Y'all ready for another black screen?
Oh. And before we get to the East picks, I just want to say there was like 5 or 6 guys that I couldn't put on my East list, and I felt like you could make a case for any of them being over him. Like I like agonized over my 7, at least for the reserves, and so it was really tough.
Yeah. Same thing with me. The snubs section is going to be interesting, but we have more variation between us for the Eastern Conference picks. So I'll start with mine. My surprise starter is Zach LaVine over Bradley Beal. All right, and let me just get into this real quick. Okay, Bradley Beal is averaging about 32.5 a game. Zach LaVine's averaging 28.5 a game. Right, Zach LaVine is averaging more assists per game. He's rebounding at a little bit higher rate. He is far more efficient than Bradley Beal, and he's doing more with less. The Chicago Bulls are at 12-15. The Washington Wizards are at 8-20. So literally, I feel like the only case you can make for Bradley Beal over Zach LaVine is the fact that he gets 32.5 points per game instead of 28.5. Because everything else I looked at favored LaVine for me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a huge problem with that. I just think, I don't know. I think Beal, a lot of that team hasn't really played up to it, and he has to deal with Westbrook too. So
yeah, but I mean, you look at Chicago. Laurie's been out. Yeah. Wendell Carter Jr.'s been out. Like, who do they got? The fact that they're 12-15, I think, is impressive to me. The Wizards have mightily underachieved, in my opinion. The Bulls have overachieved. So,
yep.
But anybody saying L in chat, give me a reason why you would have Bradley Beal over Zach LaVine, other than the fact that he scores more than 4 points per game, more than LaVine. Other than 4 more points per game, give me an argument, because that's not much either. That's not much either. Then when you take into account the efficiency too, it's much closer than y'all would think it. I would put LaVine over Bradley Beal. So.
Yeah, you might actually make the argument that maybe Beal and LaVine over Harden. That would be more my thing versus yeah.
I mean, I think Harden's pretty much a shoo-in just because his team is having success, and dude's 11 assists per game with his 24 points and adapted his game to kind of fit what they need. So, but the other 4 starters are Harden, Durant, Giannis, and Embiid. I think those are all pretty obvious for me. Off the bench, like, you gotta have Bradley Beal in the All-Star game. I got Ben Simmons. I got Julius Randle, first-time All-Star for the Knicks. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, I put both in there. Even though the Celtics are at 500, both those guys are playing too well for me to ignore them. I got Domantas Sabonis, and I have Kyrie Irving, who we can talk a little bit about later. I think he's playing well enough and has played just enough games to warrant consideration for an all-star spot. Sabonis is balling out for the Pacers right now, averaging, I think, 22 points per game, almost 12 rebounds and 6 assists, somewhere in there, and doing it efficiently. So that is my all-star picks. Eric.
Real quick, so they just announced the starters.
Yeah, it's Luka and Steph.
Yep, it's Luka. Dame obviously won the coaches and players, and Luka won the fan vote, and the tiebreaker went to Luka.
Yeah. Oh well. That's why I didn't. That's what I expected. That's why I applaud your guys' efforts, but yeah, it's stupid how they do it. I think you're half of it is the fans already. So then when you take into account the players and the media, I feel like the fans shouldn't be the tiebreaker. I feel like the fans should consist for like 49% of it, and the media and players should consist for 51. I don't know. Yep. That's just me, but yeah. Oh well. Dame is the best non-all-star starter in league history.
All right, Portland Trailblazers fan, we get it. Don't spam chat, please.
But yeah, so let's get back to our picks before they announce the East.
So I chose Beal over Levine. Like you said, it's fairly close. They're both having good years, in my opinion. Jaylen Brown, actually, I felt like is having a little bit better season than Tatum, even. I almost didn't have Tatum on my team, which is crazy to think about. And then, this was just really tough because Middleton is having an amazing year. If you look at his shooting splits, they're unreal, and he's averaging like 26 and 6 almost. And Julius Randle's just a guy it's really hard to leave off with his efficiency and the way he's been playmaking and the way he's stepped up his game this year. Simmons and Embiid, I feel like with the Sixers, I mean, they're the reason they're the number 1 seed, and they're one of the only teams in the East that are playing at or above the level they should be, in my opinion. So I felt like they deserve to have the 2 All-Stars. And then I didn't put Kyrie Chief in because I don't think someone who quits on their team for several weeks during the middle of the season is someone that's all-star worthy, so I left him off my team. And you can call me a Kyrie hater, which I gladly will admit that I am, and that I don't think he deserves to be an all-star this year. He'll probably make it, but I felt like there was just so many players that he didn't deserve to make the All-Star game because he left in the middle of the season, and I don't think he should be rewarded for that with an All-Star appearance. And there were so many other guys.
Let me just. Yeah. For me, it was just what has he done on the court?
Right.
That's what it was for me, and he's done enough on the court to warrant being an All-Star.
Yeah, his numbers are great, but he also gets to play with Durant and Harden, so it's tough. But and then guys like Bam. And Jimmy Butler hasn't played great this year. Bam has, but it's like so hard because their team hasn't been good either. Vucevic is having a great year. It was tough leaving him off. I'm trying to think.
We could talk about snubs after we reveal Westbrook and Reese's if you want. Westbrook. By the way, you and me, the only difference we had is I had Kyrie, you had Chris Middleton. Westbrook is starting Jaylen Brown instead of Bradley Beal, which I think you could make a legitimate case that Jaylen Brown could potentially start with how well he's been playing. If the Celtics had a much better record, I think maybe there'd be more consensus on that. But Ben Simmons again. Bradley Beal, again, of course. Jaylen Brown is on all of our lists. Julius Randle has been on all of our lists. He also had Chris Middleton with you, who I didn't have, and I was, Chris Middleton. Yeah, so I don't know. It's funny how that worked out. We all have Zach LaVine. We all have DeMontis Sabonis. Bam Adebayo was his last pick. The Heat just aren't doing well enough, and he doesn't shine statistically enough to overcome it, in my opinion, but it was hard to leave him off because the dude's averaging 29 and 5 and playing great defense, and a lot of those team struggles aren't because of him. So it's there's a lot of guys that you have to leave off this list that are probably deserving. So Westbrook, solid picks there, and then Reese. Okay, Reese has some surprising ones. All right, he has some ones that'll surprise you. Starters consensus with Bradley Beal, right? He has Tatum. He has, by the way, Westbrook left off Tatum. Everybody has Ben Simmons, Julius Randle. He has Chris Middleton, like you and Westbrook. He has Trae Young in there, which I forgot about Trae Young until after I made my list. But I don't know, man. Trae Young is another huge snub. Could have definitely maybe had him over Kyrie on my list. I mean, the dude's averaging 26.5 points per game and 9 assists, but the team success isn't there. He's awful defensively. Like, it was tough, and he's not, I think Zach LaVine is more impressive statistically. Bradley Beal is more impressive statistically. And the Bulls are doing better than the Hawks, believe it or not. He has Malcolm Brogdon, which you can make a legitimate case for Malcolm Brogdon over Domantas Sabonis. Brogdon is a better defender. Like I said, Reese values defense a little bit more than he values defense a lot. So Brogdon's in there, and then Van Vliet is in there as well. If the Raptors were doing better, I think you could make more of a case for Van Vliet, but I am not. I don't know. There's a number of guys that I would put ahead of Fred Van Vliet that I didn't have on my list specifically. He's missing Jason Tatum. He doesn't have Jason Tatum in there. He picked Brogdon over Sabonis. I feel like you could make a legitimate case for that. Who else is he missing? He doesn't have Zach LaVine in there.
He doesn't have his boy Vucevic.
None of us have Vucevic, but he wasn't biased, so I respect that.
No, I know.
He's big on advanced stats and defense, so he had good method. He had his own method to it. So, which is
Trae Young. He's been horribly inefficient, and
I don't know why he picked Trae Young over Zach LaVine.
Defense, so that's not.
Yeah, I don't know. That one was the one that really kind of stood out to me. But he had his own criteria, which is good. I think that's what voters should have. They should have a criteria of their own. That's based on something, not just kind of throwing caution to the wind. So was AD named a starter?
No, I think it was
Jokic, Kawhi.
It was the 5 we had, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is what I expected. I was hoping AD would be listed a starter because injury replacement. I don't know if they got drafted to the same team. I feel like screw it, you can put Dame in there, right? That's not against the rules, but oh well. So that is our East picks. Snubs, we were going through them. Vucevic is one of them. Adebayo's only on one list. Trae Young's only on one list. Kyrie's only on my list. Malcolm Brogdon is only on one list. Who are some guys that we haven't mentioned?
God, I had a whole list. Give me just a second. Some people are mentioning Colin Sexton. Jeremy Grant was one that I had trouble leaving off that we haven't mentioned yet. He's had a really nice year and pretty good shooting splits as well. As kind of the number one option, he's really stepped up his game. He's probably the front runner for most improved player as well.
Colin Sexton is definitely a little bit of a snub. He's averaging 23 and 4 and doing it on good efficiency, solid efficiency, I should say. But he's kind of, his production has fallen off a little bit lately.
Mm-hmm. And then Trae Young. I've seen some people say Gordon Hayward, but I don't know.
Oh, Gordon Hayward is somebody I almost put in.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I didn't put in Kyrie, I was heavily considering putting in Gordon Hayward.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because let me I forget his stats off the top of my head. But Gordon Hayward is being slept on too much because I see a lot of articles and stuff not even listing him as a snub, right? The dude is giving you 22 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, 4 assists per game, shooting 49% from the field, 42% from 3. And he's leading that team. That team is in a playoff spot right now. That team was tied for 6th last I checked, the Charlotte Hornets, which is not a good roster. So he's leading his team he's helping his team overachieve. The statistical production is there. He's somebody I heavily considered.
Yeah. So someone just said that Kyrie was named the starter. Is that right?
Was Kyrie named a starter?
It was Kyrie, Beal, Durant, Antetokounmpo, and Embiid. That's crazy.
Oh, I mean, when you have fan votes.
But I'm pretty sure he was behind.
Yeah, I don't know.
Fan
I don't
votes.
know how. I don't know how, man. But, I mean, I wouldn't say... Chiefin, chill with that crap, or I'm just gonna put you in timeout, man. But... I mean, I'm the only one who had him, but I barely had him in. He played 20 games, right? Which I guess is enough, but... I mean, he hasn't been... I don't know. He's played well when he's played, but the whole... I did, I'm saying, oh, here I am factoring on the court thing, but the dude did quit on his team, it's...
Yeah.
And he's also the third best player on his team. And it's not like his team has had a ton of team success to justify having 3 people. I'm very surprised Harden is not starting. I mean, that makes me feel a little better about Dame not starting if Harden isn't starting, you know what I mean? Like, those 2 guys are definitely worthy, are definitely top 10 players, but are behind guys that are worse than them.
I mean, the switching of teams or conferences right in the middle of the season, that probably didn't help either.
Probably not, but still, man. I mean, this season is, you're talking about guys that have only played 20 games anyway, so this season is already just kind of a jumbled mess. But yeah, Kyrie definitely shouldn't be starting. 3, you, Westbrook, Reese didn't even have him. And I almost didn't have him. So, interesting that he is the starter in the East over Harden. But that is our East All-Star picks. Any other names? I don't want to sleep on anyone. Any other names that we haven't mentioned?
No, I think we actually mentioned pretty much everyone.
Did a good job of covering the sleepers there. So that is our Eastern Conference picks. Let's jump into picks against the spread. All right.
And then we'll talk about Dame.
Yeah, and then we can talk about yeah. Let's do that. Chat. I had to check to make sure I had this updated. Chat 56-43. Eric's 52-47. I'm 51-48.
We keep flip flopping.
Yeah. So we're all above 500. All right. I kind of struggled. I felt behind the pace of you view and chat a little bit there. We are all 7-7 on our double downs, other than Westbrook and Trevin. We're 5-9. Westbrook and Reese paired on a lot of picks against us last Thursday. It did not work out for them whatsoever. Mm-hmm. They both go 1-7. Reese is now in last, man. Reese talking about all his bets and he's a betting genius and yada yada. Dude sitting here 21 games under 500. Come on, Reese. You got to pick it up, man. I expected better from you, bro. So let's just jump. We only got 3 games today. Let's just jump into the first one. Let me get this off the screen. The bottom bar is not updated. Just forget that. Actually, I'll leave it up just because our names are under our picks. We got Milwaukee against Toronto. Milwaukee's a 7.5 point favorite. This is a hard game to pick. I'm not picking this first. Let me pull up chat on my phone so I can see the picks of everyone else.
I'm going to take the Raptors. Just take the points on this one.
All right, Eric is going with the road team, Toronto. Westbrook is going with the Bucks. Trevin is going with the Bucks.
Reese is also the Bucks.
I think I'm gonna go the Bucks as well.
Okay. Nice island.
It looks like chat might go Toronto.
Yeah.
Reese says Kyle Lowry is questionable. I'm on the fence. That kind of made my decision for me.
From what he remembers.
Yeah, I mean, even if Lowry plays, I'm comfortable taking the Bucks here. The Bucks have kind of struggled, but
Reese, if he doesn't play, that's more opportunity for your boy Van Vliet with the ball in his hands.
Yeah, exactly.
9-2 Raptors. Okay. So they definitely won't. The top two going against the bottom four.
Yeah, the Bucks need to. I mean, you're acting like I'm not one game behind you, bro. Shoot, this bottom bar is from last week. I didn't update it with this week's record, and it says I'm still ahead of you. So, yeah, I mean, come on now. Toronto is going for Chat and Eric, and then everybody else is going with the Bucks. Hopefully, the Bucks can pull through for us, Reese, Westbrook, and Trevin. Let's go on to game number 2. I gotta update this this graphic because that is not the game. I made these during the stream. Actually, you actually have no. It's supposed to be. That's the next game. Hold on. We got an even spread, by the way. There we go. Lakers and Nets. The Lakers are a 3-point favorite. This is an interesting game. The Lakers without AD playing the Nets, who have Harden and Kyrie, but no KD. Correct?
KD
or is KD
out.
back?
KD is out for sure. I haven't seen anything on Kyrie because he did not play last game. I'm assuming it was just a back-to-back, but...
Do any of you, Reese, do you have info on Kyrie at all? Kyrie is probable, says Jackson. All right, I'm going with the Nets, and this will likely be my double down pick. The Lakers playing without AD versus a Nets team with Kyrie and Harden. The Nets just beat the Suns, who were on fire, came back from 21 down. That was a nationally televised game. Yeah, I think the Nets, with the 3 points too. If this was a toss-up, I'd probably take the Nets, but with the 3 points, definitely going Brooklyn.
All right, and... Looks like Trevin is taking the Nets as well. Reese took the Lakers in a weird way. 10-5 Nets for Chat. I am also going to go with the Nets.
All right. Is Westbrook going to roll with Reese again this week, or is he going to change his mind because last week didn't work? Is he going to abandon ship? Westbrook is going Nets as well. So, Reese, you're out alone on the island. Westbrook took his ship and sailed home. You are stuck there on that island going for the Lakers there. That is game number 2. And then the third and final game that we have is going to be... Not that. I forgot to update this bar here. There we go. We got Sacramento taking on Miami at home. This is our first even spread of the year. So who do you think is going to win the game? That is what this is. We won't have to deal with any ties for this one, Eric. It's impossible. So you got the Kings, you got the Heat. The Heat are struggling. Interesting game.
Was that last night Miami played Golden State?
Yes.
And it went to overtime?
Lost in OT.
Are the Heat resting anyone because it's a back-to-back?
I don't know. I am not up to date.
Dang, man. That was a tough one. I'm going to take the Kings. I'm sick of trying to rely on the Heat this year.
All right. I am going to take the Heat. The Heat, I mean, they were competitive against Golden State. Golden State's a better team than Sacramento. Yeah, is that record even correct for Sacramento? I think I forgot to update it. Right, Sacramento is 12-15, not 12-14. But either way, doesn't really matter. I am going with the Heat in this one. If anybody changes their pick based off that, that's kind of weird. But you got Trevin going Heat. Reese says Barnes and Rashawn Holmes are out, by the way. If that makes you want to change your pick.
Mm-hmm.
You're just kind of saying screw the Heat at this point, huh?
Yeah. Until they start playing better, I'm not going to trust them yet.
Yep. Westbrook says the Heat screwed him yesterday. Did you bet on the Heat yesterday? I mean, yesterday was a Wednesday. We didn't have picks against the spread. I don't know.
I think he meant for the the Blazers or like Golden State losing, but also
Oh yeah.
the Heat screwed us. I think they screwed all of us on Monday when they lost to the Clippers.
Oh, I know they've been struggling. I would love for chat to go with the Kings. We've never had like a perfect, every other pattern before in picks against the spread, but it looks like they're going Heat, huh?
Yeah, Reese went Heat.
Yes, Reese did go Heat.
Okay.
Is waiting on 10-5 for the Heat. So, what is chat's double down pick?
Looks like they're going to be the Raptors.
All right, let's go to the double downs. I don't have Eric's cam for this setup yet. I'm still, you know how it is. So chat's going Raptors, you said?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go with the Nets.
I'm also doing the Nets. Kind of.
Trevin, I really don't think we have, man. I'm the one who puts the graphics in, so I don't know. I don't remember. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you could timestamp it. All right, so me and Eric going Nets. Trevin is going Bucks.
Reese says Miami is his. Who's Reese is doing? No, Trevin's Bucks.
Trevin is Bucks, and then Westbrook is going with Kings as his double down. So despite only having 3 games, me and Eric are the only people with the same pick. That's kind of cool.
And they got Chat and Trevin going head to head with their double downs, and Reese and Westbrook going head
together. Yeah. Is this still tied together? Man, I gotta clean up this whole slide. Chat was Raptors. Yep, that's still tied together. Let me just fix this now. Okay. And then
Clayton, double down is just whatever pick we feel is our most confident pick. We put twice as much. It counts as 2 games for
2 wins or 2 losses.
Our contest, instead of just the normal one.
Yep. So anyway, these are our double down picks. Me and Eric going with the Nets, Reese going with the Heat, Westbrook Kings, Trevin Bucks, Chat Raptors. We will see how we do. Kind of sucks. There's only 3 games today, but with doing the All-Star picks, it made it easier. So Dame is not the starter. Kind of a shame, but I don't know. I don't know. All-Star game starters, I don't care. Starters, reserves, like the fans, you got fan vote that decides the starters, and you got an international player that's getting fan vote more than a guy from the U.S. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's something who deserves to be a starter, but it's kind of just like, oh well, to me. Like, I expected it. I'm not really too worked up about it.
As long as fan voting is 50%, it's going to be really hard for a guard, especially when there's only 2 spots versus 3 front court players. If there was ever going to be a year, this would have been it. But, I mean, it was obvious. Luka was 400,000 votes or so ahead of him last time we saw the voting. So it's not like Dame really had a chance of overtaking him in that fan vote. And then we saw it play out exactly how we thought it would last night, where both the players and the coaches picked Dame, which means he'll definitely be a reserve. Honestly, yes, the accolades of being a starter are kind of cool, but I think it's more of an honor to be selected as a reserve because that's just coaches that pick those.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous just the way they do it, man. How do you lead in 2 of the 3 categories but lose the tiebreaker because of the 3rd category? You know what I mean? Like, it should be the tiebreaker should be an average ranking, right? Amongst all 3 of them. And if Dame leads in 2 of them, of the 3 compared to Luka,
Mm-hmm.
then he'd have a higher average ranking, right?
Yeah, I don't know if they do it that way or it's like where you're ranked gives you a certain vote. So if he was like so far ahead in the voting process, or maybe it was close between him and Dame and the other ones, I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah. Oh well, at least we don't have to worry about him being snubbed. You know, I mean, dude's
Yeah.
much of a shoe-in for a reserve. Dude's like the best reserve in league history. Like, that's cool. You got Kevin Love posting like the GIF of Dame after the Mavericks game, saying "put some respect on my name" or whatever. You got Kevin Love tweeting that. And he also tweeted, "Anyone else have Dame as early favorite for All-Star Game MVP?" Yeah, so I mean, yeah, it's definitely a snub. It's crazy. So I actually have Steph was one in all of them, which I think is ridiculous. The Steph, okay, I'm going to rant. The Steph love is getting crazy to me, bro. The dude has not had a better season than Dame. His team is having less success with Dame. Dame is having success with his second and third best players out. Steph, I mean, they're 16th. They're not doing too bad, I guess, but you look at Steph's stats, all right? Dude's averaging 30 points per game, 6 assists per game. Dame's averaging 30 points per game, almost 8 assists per game. Steph is a little bit more efficient. So Dame, a little better playmaking. Steph, a little bit more efficient. Dame has more team success. So Dame is above him for me, and this goes to the MVP race, and this goes to the All-Star voting. Dame would have been my number one All-Star vote. Obviously, people could say I'm biased, but I'm just looking at the facts here with the statistics, and team success, and I don't see why Steph is such a consensus pick over Dame for anything at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I said this last night. It's like, oh, last year it was like, oh, Dame doesn't deserve any credit. They barely made the 8 seed and whatever. It's like, okay, well, now Steph is barely in the playoff race, and it's only because a lot of other teams have underachieved. And all of a sudden, like, Dame's not getting the credit for not being the 8 seed. He's way ahead of the 8 seed right now. So I feel like it's kind of hypocritical at times. But I was warning people as much as I could that there's absolutely no reason to get mad about it. It's going to happen to where Luka's going to be the starter. And it's just the way the system's set up. And he's a vastly popular player. And Steph is as well. And Steph has the career accomplishments that Dame doesn't necessarily have as well. But yeah, it's obviously Dame deserved to be starting this year. I think you can make a case, like you said, that he should have been starting over either, not just Luka. But yeah, this is it's a case where, like, I mean, it doesn't really matter. He's going to be named an All-Star, and it's not like this means anything, like, other than he just doesn't get to be in there in the first few minutes of the game. Like, there's nothing else that, like, Luka doesn't get anything special or extra MVP votes because he's voted
Exactly.
as a starter. So, like, I'd be much more concerned if this was how the MVP voting turned out, if we could see like a sneak peek of the MVP voting right now, saying like, oh, Dame is third behind Luka and Steph Curry or whatever, then I would be pissed. But like, there's no real reason to get mad about this. Yeah.
If Dame was in the East, he'd be a starter.
Yeah.
Instead of Kyrie. Like,
yeah.
So I don't know. It is what it is, man. It's the dude. Like, I care more about the MVP race for him than him starting as a all-star starter or whatnot. But yeah, Steph got number one in all three categories. I just don't see how that's possible. I just don't see why. The dude.
The other thing is, a lot of, I don't know when the coaches and players had to decide their votes by, but it's a little bit of Dame's had some monster games and heroic performances, some clutch moments over the last week, and some of the players and coaches might have already put in their votes before seeing that. Not that it should have mattered that much, because, but like a couple weeks ago, we were 10-9 or whatever, and it's not like we're if it would have been reversed, and at that time we were 8 games over 500. I think Dame would have had a little bit more momentum from the earlier stages of it, whereas Steph Curry and the Warriors were ahead of us in the standings when the voting started. So I think that played out a little bit that way too.
Yep. Since we're already kind of on the topic, I want to rant about a certain thing in the MVP race. Why is LeBron James the consensus top 2 MVP candidate? Like, okay, I'm just gonna round this. I think the top 2 MVP candidates are Joel Embiid and Damian Lillard. Clear-cut top 2 MVP candidates for me right now. Based on what their teams are doing, based on what they're doing statistically, I would probably put Joel Embiid number 1, Damian Lillard number 2. Joel Embiid's been insane. You look at LeBron, he's averaging 25.7 points per game, 8.2 rebounds per game, 7.9 assists per game, right? When you compare him for Dame, LeBron is a forward, right? So his rebounding total is solid, just like Dame's is solid for a point guard, right? So you take that out of the picture. LeBron's giving you almost 26 points per game, almost 8 assists per game. Dame's giving you almost 30 points per game and almost 8 assists per game. Dame has been more efficient than LeBron. LeBron has a 60% true shooting percentage. Dame's is above 62%. The Lakers have had more team success, but they've had Anthony freaking Davis, whereas Dame has been winning a bunch of games with Enes Kanter and Derrick Jones Jr. or Gary Trent Jr. Not to, downplay those guys, because I still really like this roster, but he doesn't have Anthony Davis, and he doesn't have the roster that LeBron has. So in terms of team success, I'm not going to hold, the team success for the Lakers in LeBron's favor more than the team success for the Blazers. So a lot of people still have LeBron ahead of Dame in the MVP race. I don't agree with that either.
Yeah, LeBron has a chance to prove that, like we've been talking about over the next few weeks. But yeah, I mean, it's narrative and what you see coming to the season. Everyone's expecting, LeBron's going to have to eventually, time's going to catch up to him, and he's going to start to deteriorate slightly. But he seems to have once again not had that happen this year. And Anthony Davis hasn't played up to Anthony Davis levels, and they're still, one of the best teams in the West.
I mean, Anthony Davis is still better than anybody.
No, I agree. I would agree with that. But what I'm saying is, this is like the whole personnel argument with the Blazers. It's like, if you think the personnel has been absolute garbage and Stotts has nothing to work with, you think he's like an amazing coach and he's made like wine out of water the last 8 years and like he's like the greatest coach of all time because he hasn't had a single good player to coach the whole time he's been here. And whereas like people like us who actually think the roster is pretty good and there's a lot of things you can do with it and there's a lot of talent there that's not being utilized properly, don't think he's necessarily doing a great job with just because they have some team success or whatever. So with MVP, it's a lot of times the narrative of, like your team is supposed to be bad. So that's why the better we do, the Blazers, the more the narrative will spin towards Damian Lillard because they weren't supposed to be this good this year. And you have guys like Kevin O'Connor, like Belgian Blazers, said that I forgot what he said, like we're chronically overrated or something, or comically overrated, I think was his word. And that, they had several experts pick us to not even make the playoffs. So like if he gets us home court advantage while having all these injuries, I think the narrative will start to switch there. But now LeBron also has that narrative option of being old and carrying a team and now having to step up with Anthony Davis hurt. So if he says if he plays well during this time, it's going to be interesting to see how that race develops between those two. And if Golden State keeps winning and hangs with us too, there's going to be a lot of people that say the same things about Dame for Steph Curry as well.
Yep.
And it does absolutely you're not supposed to factor in previous years, but it happens. It's like impossible for you not to think about stuff when you develop these narratives. Like the narrative is that Damian Lillard isn't good in the playoffs or whatever, which like we can argue that all day. Like I mean, we watch every game, we know why that is, or why he does have struggles at times in the playoffs, being absolute center of attention of defenses, and us not recognizing how to fix that or make it so he can get better looks. But like because he doesn't have the playoff success that a Steph Curry or LeBron James has, it's hard to trust him when you're voting for MVP, because it weighs in. Like Giannis last year gets voted MVP, and then their team like bows out in the second round. So then, like people this year, Giannis might be playing better than he played last year, but no one's going to vote for him for MVP necessarily, because they think like, well, he's just going to choke in the playoffs and make me look stupid that I voted for him as MVP or Defensive Player of the Year too last year, when he got abused in the playoffs a couple times defensively. But like, so those kind of narratives do play into the voting process, in my opinion. I don't necessarily think that's right. It's just human nature.
I mean, yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. Just making my case for Dame over LeBron, because I think Dame's case is stronger. In my opinion, that is my reasoning why. Dame actually lost ground in the fan vote in the past week.
Oh, did he? Did you see that?
On Luka. Yeah, so Luka actually gained on him. See, that's... Man, like, I respect your efforts. I respect the efforts of the Blazers fan base, but there was a reason why I wasn't out there.
Well,
busted by. It was.
It doesn't hurt
if you had
fun
fun,
to retweet a few tweets and
Yeah, exactly. But there's a reason where it's just like, man, like I just thought, I don't know, it's pointless. Like that was kind of my feeling on it. Like Luka's gonna get voted in because he's Luka, and yeah, I don't know. But I mean, if there is a Western Conference guard injury, hopefully there's not. But Dame would end up obviously being the starter in place of whoever got injured. That's what happened with LaMarcus in the past, right? Wasn't there a All-Star game that he started because somebody got hurt and he was the replacement?
Yeah, I think so.
But I think there was a lot of injuries in that year's All-Star game, right before that year's All-Star game. So, LeBron and KD are the captains, by the way. And
Dame didn't get to play last year because he got hurt right before All-Star game.
Exactly. So that, RIP says Crispy Flakes is pissed off Dame ain't starting too. Yeah, man. I hope so. I mean, he definitely deserves it over Luka. Like it's crazy.
It might actually be a good thing because, like I was talking about with those narratives, now everyone's going to be mad, and if Dame continues to play like this throughout the rest of the season, then when it comes time to vote for people, you're gonna have all these people that were like, oh, he got snubbed for the All-Star game starter. Like I definitely need to vote him as MVP or have him higher on my list, and that kind of narrative will weigh in their mind, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I mean, Luka's having a great season and whatnot. I just don't think you can put him above Dame. Yeah. Just given what the Blazers are doing compared to what the Mavericks are doing. The Mavericks are underachieving. The Blazers are probably overachieving considering their injury situation. So, excuse me. Anything you want to touch on before we sign out?
Yeah, so quick kind of article, and this was kind of having to do with some of the deep stuff Dame was talking about last night. So, once again, Dame, for anyone of you who ever doubts that Dame does not want to be a Portland Trailblazer for the rest of his career, he once again has put all that to rest. He thinks he is the best Blazer. He thinks that his dedication to the city puts him ahead of players like Clyde Drexler, who wanted to leave at some point, and that he will never leave, and he will do everything he can to bring a ring to the city, and he's not gonna take the easy way to do that. He's going to do it here or not achieve that. And I have nothing but the utmost respect for someone like that versus a ring chaser or someone who just wants to go play with another star player just to win a ring. I think it would mean so much more if you got to the finals or got close to winning a ring. I think that's almost more impressive than, say, something Kevin Durant did and join a 73-win team and win a ring that way.
Yeah, and I think most people would agree with you. The Dirk way is better than the Durant way.
Yep.
So yeah, it was cool to hear him kind of expand on that. Quick ask solid questions, even if they're not game related. So yeah, I mean, thank goodness we got a guy like him instead of some of the other stars in this league. That's pretty much all I can say on that.
Yep. Just proud to have this guy representing our city and our franchise. Can't really think of a better player in today's game to have representing a team like Portland.
Yep, 100%. So that's going to wrap up our stream today. Well, we have tomorrow off. We get a day off, Eric. That's cool. Feels like it's been a minute, but I don't know. So we have tomorrow off. Then we'll have the post-game show after the Wizards-Blazers game. I think that gives tip it off at 7, correct? That's on Saturday. Mm-hmm. And then we'll have a day off Sunday. So only one stream in the next 3 days, which will be that post-game stream after the Wizards game. And then that Monday, we'll have 2 streams. So we'll be back on top of it next week. So until then, hopefully you guys have a good rest of your Thursday and a good Friday. We will catch you on Saturday. Make sure you subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done so. We're chasing 1,000. Follow me on Twitter at ToyJonesYT, at HoopsJock for Eric, at BlazersUpriseyT for the channel. And with that, that's a wrap. We will catch you all later. As always, peace out. Go Blazers.